This is part 2C Hall Monitor Training. If you have not had a chance to watch part 1 Mission and Vision for Sunday Kids, I'd encourage you to review that before watching the rest of this video. The goal of this video is to share the purpose and responsibilities of the Hall Monitor. I hope by the end you will see just how important this role is to Sunday Kids. So let's get into it. Why does Sunday Kids have Hall monitors? Well, the short answer is safety, communication, and assisting teachers, kids, and parents. Most of your job will be helping parents who don't know where to go, assisting teachers by getting extra supplies for them, monitoring kids in the hallway as they use the restroom, communicating with different stakeholders about different things that may be happening that Sunday. For example, we may have a baptism or the kids are singing in the auditorium. However, if there is weather, security, medical, or other major issues or concerns in the kids' wing, you are the point person who will help me, the North Kids pastor. I hope and pray these major events never happen, but if they do, you need to be ready and prepared. So, what are the responsibilities of a hall monitor and what documents should you be using during your time of service? Your first responsibility is to arrive early. We ask all of our volunteers to arrive 15 minutes early. As a hall monitor, this is especially important because there are three things that I'm looking for you to do to kind of help set up your service. Now, when you arrive 15 minutes early, I would also tell you that you should check in at the desk as pictured here. I've circled the clipboard. This is where, again, you'll find your documents. This is where you'll find your checklist, and we'll go through those a little bit later. But what you're going to do is the first thing is you just go down and identify yourself and introduce yourself to the safety team member. The church has safety team members in the lobby, and they will help assist you in the event that there is an emergency or you need their assistance. So, knowing who that is and making sure they know who you are is important. Once you've done that, just then turn on or make sure your walkie talkies are set. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in the next clip here. And then finally, once you have those two things checked off, then I need you just to walk around and make sure that we have volunteers in each of the classrooms. And as you recall, per our safety kids training, there needs to be two trained adults. And so just making sure that the classrooms have the adults that they need. And if they don't, then that's where you would report that to me. Let me know, hey, there's only one person in the K1 class, or you don't have anybody in the nursery. And then that helps me then to begin to put into place uh, finding volunteers for that. So let's dig a little bit into the walkie talkies that we use and why we use them. So the first one is the walkie talkie connected to the safety team. This allows you to hear what the safety team may be communicating. Most of it probably has nothing to do with you, but you are at least aware of what's going on. In the event that you hear something that I need to be made aware of, or if there is an emergency where we need to close down the kids' hallway, that is where you'll hear it come through. And then you and I would work together to make sure the appropriate actions are taking place. We do ask that you put that earpiece over your ear so that you can hear it and it's kept private, whereas no one else can hear that. The second walkie talkie is for volunteers. We don't have a PA system or phones that we use in the classroom. So, this is our primary form of communication with volunteers in the classrooms. So, having that on and being able to hear it is very important. Most of the time, you're going to get a call from a volunteer suggesting or asking, saying, hey, I need some help with a kid who needs to go to the bathroom, or we need some water in this classroom. Can you come and help us fill up the pitcher? Both of these serve a very different purpose, but a very important purpose of communicating. In this part of the video, I'd like to take a deep dive into the checklist. The checklist is the heart and soul of what you're doing to make sure that you are doing what you should be doing. But remember, it is also part of the clipboard, and the clipboard has multiple documents, one of them being the checklist, and then other protocols. The clipboard actually should be carried around at all times, so that if there is an emergency, you'll have those protocols available. And again, as you're carrying on your activities and responsibilities, the checklist will help you. Now, again, as I've said, you're walking around with this clipboard. The clipboard has some important documents that you need to know. First of all, you're going to find the paper version of your checklist. On the front will be one service, on the back will be the other. Underneath that will be a laminated copy of the checklist that's just more of a backup if something were to happen. The third document is bodily fluid cleanup protocol, and you can work, just again, make yourself familiar with that. The last one is emergency instruction protocols for the different things that may come up. Again, it's a flip book, and we'll talk a little bit about this later, but those emergency instructions are also in every classroom. Your clipboard will be on the welcome center or welcome station for new families. The checklist is divided into three parts. You have the head count, you have security, and you have actively checking in with teachers to make sure that if they need any help, that you can assist them. Head count, the first part. This is really important. This is how we ensure that we keep our kids safe. We know where all of our kids are at any given time. Now, I will tell you, the first thing is to go to a classroom. It doesn't matter what classroom, you don't have to go in order that's on the checklist. If you want to, you can, but you could start with preschool and go to an elementary classroom. Anyway, it's really up to you where you start and when you do it. But by the end of service, all of those classrooms should have had a head count check just for verification. So what do you do? What you do is you go in and you just pop your head in very unobtrusively and you just count the kids. And then you ask the teacher, how many kids do you have? They should have that written on the board, but they may count them up again and tell you the number. If the number is, let's say you counted 10 and they say we have 10, great. That's what we want. If, though, they give you a different number, if they give you a number of, let's say, 9 or 11, then we all do a head count again just to verify. If we still can't come up with the same number, then we just have the kids sit down, go in, and actually count the number of kids. And that check should be sufficient enough to make sure we have all of our kids where they're supposed to be. So I want to just reiterate the importance of when you have a number that is different than what the teachers have. If you have recounted and there's still a difference, this is a critical issue that you need to, like I said, step into the classroom, and you actually need to take the roster, and you're going to do a roster name to face attendance check. What that looks like is that the kids are sitting down, like we've said, and you call and see who's the first kid on your roster, child A. And then you look and you find, where is child A, and you say that name and you look at that child. Then you go to B and you look and say, where is child B, and you put a name to face. You have to see that child physically in the room. This is kind of a non-negotiable. We're not going to make assumptions at this point. We need to clearly know who was checked in and who should still be in there. We're not saying yes, maybe, kind of. Well, we think no. We That's the whole point of the roster. So this is really, like I said, a non-negotiable. If we get to that point, that we are going to verify name to face attendance check. And then if that doesn't match up and we notice a kid missing, then you immediately let me know, and we begin to put into place what those next steps to find that child. On your rounds as a hall monitor doing the head count, you are being vigilant. And vigilant is one of those, to me, a very powerful word, but you are ensuring security. And if there are any health issues that maybe you need to be aware of or you observe, it is important that you, again, just without a lot of hoopla, you're just checking for security, checking for any major health issues in the classrooms. And if there were, then you would walkie those in and let either this, if it was significant enough, let the safety team know so that they could bring in others. Or if it's just a band aid, you may go and get a band aid. Or if it's just a child that needs to come out, you would also assist the teacher if a parent needs to be called or help stand in the classroom. Obviously, if I'm there, I will be a part of that process of helping, especially in the case of a health issue. The third area is actively checking in with volunteers to help them. And this is, I would say, probably going to be most of what you do on any given Sunday. We don't want anything major. We want it to really be what this section is about. You're just going to check in, first of all, the family room. And are there people that are supposed to be in there? If there are kids in there without parents, then we need to identify that. If there are parents in there without kids, just kind of ask. Again, be kind and polite when doing this, but we just want to make sure the moms and the parents who are that room is for are being cared for and taken care of. As I would say, this also walk around to the different rooms, and you want to make sure that those rooms, if a kid needs to go to the bathroom, that you help that teacher. You basically walk them down. You knock on the bathroom door, open it up, call in, make sure no one is in there. If that's clear, then the child goes in, they lock the door behind them, and you just stand outside the bathroom to ensure no one goes in. Now, our bathrooms are monitored with cameras, so we have an extra layer of security there. But again, you never go in when the kid is in there. But what you do is you check to make sure no one is in there first, and then let them in, lock the door, and then they go back and walk them back to the classroom. The other thing that that again is probably what you're going to do most of the time is helping teachers with restroom breaks. Probably the next most popular thing that you're going to do is that you're just going to provide supplies. There may be a volunteer that radios on the walkie. I need extra paper, or I need a pencil, or I need some crayons. And so you'll provide that. In the preschool room, it may be I need some water in the pitcher. And so you will do that. Another way that you can help volunteers is maybe the volunteer themselves need to go to the restroom. So you step in because of our child safety rules. There always has to be two trained people in the classroom. So you would provide that for them. And then finally, kind of this is more of just a wrap up, but you're kind of paying attention to the service. And when it seems like appears to be between about 5 minutes, 10 minutes before service lets out, you just go around to all the rooms and just kind of give them a warning. Say, hey, service is about ready to wrap up, 5-10 minute warning. And that then really concludes your involvement as in terms of the activity throughout the hallway. Now, as parents are coming, you are watching, again, being vigilant. You are paying attention, making sure that kids are getting where they need to go. Again, just another set of eyes. I'll be doing that as well if I'm there, but you're just, again, ensuring safety This would just be any notes that you think that I need to be aware of. If not, then you just check none. But if there is a minor incident, if a Band-Aid needs to be, or if there was an issue with a parent, obviously please write that out, communicate that with me. And then finally, you just initial and date it. The last thing I ask before you head out is to make sure that the next hall monitor, especially if you're first, service, they are there and you hand things off and you share anything that you need to share with them. But I would also say if that hall monitor is running late or you need to go, I'm there to, you can just find me and say, hey, I need to move on, and I'll be that intermediate person before the next hall monitor comes in. In this last part of the video, I just want to hit a couple things that are just reminders to you as you are walking throughout the hallways. The first one is in every room, you will see something that looks very similar to these pictures. You will see a red fanny pack with basic Band-Aids. They're just basic first aid. So if a teacher or if you see someone who is in need of basic first aid, then you could go into a classroom and check that out. You may again want to just at some point look into one of those and just see what's there so that you're familiar with it. The other thing you're going to notice is that blue flip book that is part of your clipboard. It's on every wall. You'll notice that there is a green flip chart. That is for our weekday kids, our PDO program, so we don't use that on Sunday. The other thing that you'll notice is an evacuation map that is for each classroom is set out as to where and how they would evacuate the building. And then the last thing you would see is a small whiteboard that shares where teachers are actually supposed to share their count of the classroom attendance on that board. So that's just to kind of give you a heads up. That's what is in each classroom, and teachers are aware of that. The last thing I just want to share with you is our doors. The first set of doors on the video here on the left, these are called our double doors. And I've circled the part of the door which we've put an alarm, and that is a screaming, loud, obnoxious alarm that is supposed to really, the intent is to scare kids to come back in. We don't want them walking out the door. And it's also really to let you know and anybody know that, hey, someone is going out this door. If you've never heard it, come a little bit earlier and we can go and test that, and you can get a sense of how loud and obnoxious that noise is. The door on the right, the picture on the right, that is called door room 206. And that door also has an alarm, but that one is a little bit gentler. Sounds more like a doorbell. And the reason we put that on there is again to let someone know that someone is using that door. But it's also the reason why it's not quite as harsh is that we have some families who actually use that door either for wheelchair or strollers, or if the child has trouble going upstairs or the parent does. So that is a coded door. The double doors are not coded, so no one should be able to get in from the outside. Someone has to push the door open. The room 206 door is actually, it has a keypad, and parents are given a key or a key code if they need access to that. And again, that doorbell sound actually can be heard at the check-in station. We have a little sound box. So those are a few things that I think as you are walking around and keeping us safe and secure, you need to be aware of. This wraps up our hall monitor training. I thank you for taking the time to watch it. I hope that you have a sense of how important this role is on a given Sunday, how you are keeping our children, volunteers, and parents safe. You are assisting them and communicating with them. You are my right hand person in the event that I'm not there, or even if I am there. So thank you again. Continue to pray for the Sundays you serve, that the Lord would protect and keep us safe, and that his gospel would be shared and understood.